Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar on STP Phase 2 for Reckon Accounts Hosted and Reckon Accounts Desktop. This webinar will give you an overview of Single Touch Payroll Phase 2, along with a demo of our Migration Assistant, specifically for Reckon Accounts Hosted and Reckon Accounts Desktop software to get you ready for STP Phase 2 reporting. Just a quick disclaimer before we kick things off. What you will hear and see during this webinar is of a very general nature and is purely for demonstration purposes only. Here at Reckon, we're not accountants, tax or BAS agents, so we don't offer taxation or payroll advice. If you have any specific questions regarding individual business circumstances, we suggest that you reach out to your professional advisor, or if you're a BAS or tax agent, your relevant professional body. On the agenda today, we'll quickly recap Single Touch Payroll, bring you up to speed with a high-level overview of the key changes in STP Phase 2, then take you through how to update your employee and pay item information in Reckon Accounts with our Migration Assistant. Let's get started. Single Touch Payroll, more often referred to as STP, has been around now for a few years. STP had its beginnings back in December 2014 when Single Touch Payroll was announced as an initiative to streamline tax and superannuation reporting. It became law in September 2016 and took effect on the 1st of July 2017, with the first businesses starting their reporting on the 1st of July 2018. A question that comes up quite a lot is, what is STP? STP is the biggest change to payroll since the introduction of Super Guarantee nearly 30 years ago. STP is the process by which employers report their employees' salary and wages, PAYG withholding or tax, and super information to the ATO each payday using STP-enabled software. Single Touch Payroll is part of the ATO's plan to modernize the administration of payroll, to move away from using manual time and wage books and instead use software to streamline the employer's obligations around payroll reporting and provide real-time data and improved accuracy. STP was introduced by the ATO to provide real-time visibility over the accuracy and timeliness of business payroll processes. The keywords to take out of that are visibility and timeliness. The ATO will have more visibility than they've ever had before in regards to unpaid super and late payments. As a result of businesses moving to STP reporting, the ATO has much more timely access to employee superannuation data, which they intend to use to better protect employee entitlements and take action against employers who are not complying with their payroll obligations. STP does not replace your requirement to lodge and pay the correct superannuation obligations via your super clearinghouse. At the moment, you'll still report the W1 gross wages and W2 gross tax on your activity statements. However, given time as STP evolves, this will change. All Reckon platforms have provided a streamlined payroll process that includes the authorization and submission of STP reports to the ATO. Okay, that was Single Touch Payroll as it is today and what it's been like for the last few years. Now let's take a look at what's different and what is and isn't changing with STP Phase 2. So let's start with the why. Why Single Touch Payroll Phase 2? Why has the ATO introduced it? Well, STP has proven most successful for the ATO. Not only has it eliminated the need to produce payment summaries, but it's also providing real-time data for both the ATO, employers, and their employees. Its success has initiated the second phase to provide not only the ATO with greater payroll visibility, but also other Commonwealth services such as Centrelink and Services Australia. STP Phase 2 provides a more accurate breakdown of what a pay run exactly contains. Firstly, gross payments will be split out to include items such as overtime and leave, and more specific information about allowances and bonuses. The reason being that the separation of these amounts gives a much clearer visibility to the ATO on what is ordinary time earnings. Therefore, they are now able to accurately determine which items should attract super. In addition to that, further information included will be about how an employee is associated with a business, such as the employment basis, full-time, casual, or part-time, along with a released reason when it comes to the employee leaving the business. Okay, before we take a look at the key changes, let's see what's staying the same. The payments that are in scope for STP reporting have not changed. If you're reporting something through STP now, you'll be reporting that through STP Phase 2 as well. The due dates of STP submissions are not changing. You report on or before every pay date. Also, finalization. You're required to finalize at the end of the year, and that's usually by the mid to end of July. Another thing that hasn't changed is the rules around PAYG and Super, and how you apply that to the payments you make to your staff. Let's take a look and summarize some of the benefits. Firstly, these are benefits for the employers. Through the implementation of STP Phase 2, the government is reducing the duplication of information that employers are required to provide. This will also include unnecessary interactions, including incorporating the reason for an employee ceasing employment, therefore no longer requiring the need for separation certificates, removing the requirement to send tax file number and withholding declaration forms to the ATO. This will now be captured in the employment conditions section of the STP report. Removing the requirement to produce the letter to give employees for lump sum e-payments, more defined gross income reporting, and making it easier for employers to understand their obligations and to ensure consistency of reporting across various income types. So what are the benefits for the employee? Well, all of their information is in one place, their MyGov account, which they can easily access. There's less paperwork and a more complete digital record, along with direct and timely reporting to Services Australia, in conjunction with eliminating the need for separation certificates. It will be easier for employees to understand how they are getting paid by the defined income types, along with the breakdown making it easier to identify payment types for tax and reporting purposes. These changes make tax time easier and more understandable. All the employees' data is stored centrally, and their tax agent can categorize payments made to them as per the ATO standards. This benefit alone should save your employees time and money. Okay, now let's explore a little more detail on those key changes in STP Phase 2. STP Phase 2 is about more than just the year-to-date information being sent to the ATO. So what are these additional information fields that are now required? Firstly, we have employment type. That could be part-time, full-time, or casual, for example. This is the same information that you would have currently reported on an TFN declaration. The difference here is that you report this information every pay event. So if the employee's circumstances change, and you change it in your software from casual to part-time, for example, that'll flow through to the ATO on your next pay run. Secondly, we have the income stream type. That's how you're paid. Take salary and wages, for example. More than 95% of people who report through STP would use this type, and now the ATO has introduced a couple of new payment types, some of which are foreign employment income, closely held employees, working holiday maker, and seasonal workers. Lastly, we have tax treatment codes for payroll items. These identify factors that influence the calculation of PAYG. So it reports the tax scale the employee is set to in your software, and any offset amount the employee has claimed. This could be a Medicare levy reduction or study support loan. There's also a couple of others that are all detailed on the ATO website, which we'll link in the description below. Disaggregation of gross pay is a key component of STP Phase 2, and it essentially itemizes the components that make up the gross pay amount. This makes for much more targeted reporting. So what does the ATO want to see when it comes to disaggregation of gross pay? Well, it's quite a bit. Salary sacrifice, allowances, bonuses and commissions, overtime, director's fees, paid leave, which could be unused leave on termination, work cover, paid parental leave, deductions such as child support garnishing. If you've been involved in payroll for a while, you may have had to report lump sum E, which is payment in arrears. So now that's been expanded to include the financial year. For more detail on this, we'd highly recommend checking out our help guides and information from the ATO, which is all linked in the description below. With STP Phase 2 right around the corner, there's a number of steps you need to complete to have your business ready and compliant. But don't worry, we've got you covered and we'll be making the transition as easy as possible. As I mentioned previously, in addition to disaggregation of gross pay, there's additional data that needs to be updated, such as employee, leave, and allowance information. That may sound daunting at the outset, but we've created your very own STP Phase 2 Migration Assistant, which will make things super easy. The Migration Assistant interrogates your employee and pay item data in your Reckon Accounts file and guides you through the process to update each item on one easy screen. There will be no need to jump in and out of employee records manually. We've tested the Migration Assistant thoroughly and we're confident this will dramatically reduce the configuration time you have to go through for STP Phase 2. So with that said, let's take you through a demo of the STP Phase 2 Migration Assistant. Hi everyone, welcome to our step-by-step guide on using the Reckon Accounts STP Phase 2 Migration Assistant. The Migration Assistant is the easiest way to get your business ready for the switch to STP Phase 2, and it's included in your 2023 edition of Reckon Accounts Hosted or Reckon Accounts Desktop. The Migration Assistant will step you through all the employee information and payroll items you need to review and edit in order to be STP Phase 2 compliant, which we'll take you through a demo of in this video. Please note, this is an overview of how to use the Migration Assistant only. It's important that you apply the correct information requirements based on your individual situation, and we recommend checking out our help guide linked in the description for more detailed information on the new requirements under STP Phase 2. Before going ahead, it's highly recommended that you create a backup of your company file before and after migration, just so you have your bases covered. Okay, let's get started. Once you're up and running on the 2023 edition, you can access the Migration Assistant by clicking the Employees menu at the top, then navigate to the STP Phase 2 Migration Assistant option, and select Launch STP Phase 2 Setup. The Migration Assistant will launch. An important point to note is you have the flexibility to pause your migration tasks at any point and then seamlessly resume where you left off. When you're ready, click Next to begin. The first step is your employees, and this page will allow you to update your employee information for STP Phase 2 compliance. You'll see a list of your employees with their current information pre-filled. Select an employee or multiple employees by ticking the checkbox next to their name. You can then designate their new required information, such as their income type, for example, and any other information relevant to the employee under STP Phase 2 requirements by using the drop-down options below. Once you've selected the required options for the employee or group of employees, click the Apply button, and your selections will populate in the table above. Some fields are only relevant to certain income stream selections, so they'll only become accessible when they are selected, and vice versa. For example, the Home Country field is only relevant to the Working Holiday Maker stream, and it will become available once that is selected. You'll also notice the other fields are no longer available as they aren't relevant. It's important that you set this out correctly, and again, we recommend checking out our help guide linked in the description for a detailed overview on the new information requirements that make up STP Phase 2 if you're unsure. When you're finished, click Next to proceed. Next up is Earnings, and you can now configure your gross earning items on the screen. Gross earning items are disaggregated under STP Phase 2 for more accurate reporting, and it's important that these items are updated correctly prior to performing your first pay run under STP Phase 2. Just like your employees previously, the Migration Assistant makes things super easy. Select the checkbox next to the pay item, and then use the drop-down to apply the new tax tracking type.
You can update multiple items in one go, and you can also use the Pre-fill Suggestions button for suggested options where available. Please note, these are only suggestions and you should review to ensure they are appropriate for the respective item. If no selection is made in the new tax tracking type field, the existing tax tracking type will be carried over and used. This can be helpful when there are no changes between the current and new tax types, such as gross payments on some earning items, for example. However, for the purposes of this video, I've gone ahead and made selections for all earning items, as you'll see, and it's important to ensure your items are configured correctly before moving on. When you've completed all your earning items, click Next. Your allowance items are up next. There are new types of allowances available in STP Phase 2, and you'll need to review your existing allowance items to assign the appropriate tax tracking type. Select the appropriate option from the drop-down list for each allowance. You can update multiple items by ticking them first, then selecting an option from the right and clicking Apply. When you're ready, click Next to proceed. On this screen, you can configure your leave items. The range of leave categories under STP Phase 2 has been expanded, and you'll need to apply the appropriate new tax tracking type for your leave items. The option to pre-fill suggestions is available by clicking the Pre-fill Suggestions button, along with bulk updating on the right, as before. When you're finished configuring your leave items, click Next. Congratulations, you've completed configuring your STP Phase 2 information. There's only one thing left to do, which is finalize the setup to switch you over to STP Phase 2 reporting. When you're ready to do so, head over to Employees, STP Phase 2 Migration Assistant, and this time select the Complete STP Phase 2 Setup option. An information window will appear to let you know your STP Phase 2 information has been imported to your file successfully. Great work, you're all done. Any new pay runs and their subsequent STP submissions you create will be done so under STP Phase 2.
Okay, let's move over to some frequently asked questions. First up, when will STP Phase 2 functionality be released for Reckon Accounts Hosted and Reckon Accounts Desktop? So STP Phase 2 functionality, in addition to the Migration Assistant, will be released in the 2023 version of Reckon Accounts and Hosted, and the current planned release date is Tuesday, the 13th of June. What happens to the year-to-date data that I've already submitted? It will remain as it is, so you don't need to edit or resubmit it with extra information. Is STP Phase 2 compulsory? Yes, it is. It is compulsory for everyone that uses payroll and sends STP submissions. Can I change back to STP Phase 1 after starting on STP Phase 2? No, you can't. So once you've started reporting under STP Phase 2, you'll have to continue using that moving forward. When completing the STP Phase 2 Migration Assistant, do I have to do it all at once? No, you don't. You can progressively work through it. But just keep in mind, you must complete the assistant before your first pay of the 2023-24 financial year, because Reckon Accounts 2023 will only report under STP Phase 2 guidelines. Can I choose not to upgrade to STP Phase 2? Reckon Accounts Hosted 2023 and Desktop 2023 will only produce STP Phase 2 submissions. So if you haven't completed your employee and pay item information via the Migration Assistant, you won't be able to create an STP submission. So we highly recommend that you go through the Migration Assistant as your first thing after upgrading to the 2023 version. Do I have to finalize the year before upgrading to Reckon Accounts 2023? So our recommendation is that you finalize the year in 2022 and then upgrade to 2023 and go through the Migration Assistant to update your information for STP Phase 2. Do I have to use the STP Migration Assistant in Reckon Accounts to configure my employee and pay item information? You don't have to. You can manually update your employee profiles and pay items. However, we strongly recommend using the Migration Assistant as it will make things a lot easier and less time consuming. If I install Reckon Accounts 2023, can I still report under STP Phase 1? No, once you upgrade your data file to 2023, your first pay will be under STP Phase 2, so we recommend that you go through the Migration Assistant as your first step after upgrading. This won't be the last time you hear from us regarding STP Phase 2 and everything that it entails. And we're definitely here to help, and we've got a range of support available to you when it comes to this. We'll have links included in the description of this video to a range of resources, including our STP Phase 2 hub. It contains all your essential information around STP Phase 2. We've also got our STP Phase 2 help guides and a separate Migration Assistant how-to video. We'd also strongly encourage you to join our Reckon community, which is a great resource to not only stay up to date with important news and announcements, but also connect with fellow Reckon software users, partners, and staff for support. If you're looking for taxation or legislative advice for your individual business requirements, we'd suggest reaching out to a Reckon accredited partner by using our partner search. Links to all of the above are listed in the description. Hopefully this has given you some insight into STP Phase 2 and how to transition to it in Reckon Accounts Hosted and Reckon Accounts Desktop. And thank you so much for watching.